Hello and welcome to our NAB 2016 coverage for NextWaveDV, made possible by Blackmagic Design. Big thanks to our sponsors for setting us our way. So as you guys have noticed, this is our coverage is a little different this year. We didn't do booth interviews. We basically just went and we got a chance to take a look at things that we were interested in. Get a lot more hands-on time, not have to be rushing from interview to interview.
It was nice not to lug around 100 pounds of equipment. My feet liked it.
Yep. So we just
we
took around to...
on me already.
There's this camera. So we took around small little cameras. We shot B-roll things that we were interested in. And we're going to be doing our little roundtable discussion. We have Mike, Sean, Tony, myself, and Kurt. So let's get started. This video is going to be about cameras. There weren't any major announcements this year. I think that manufacturers seem to, it used to be like...
Only if you include VR.
Yeah, which will be a totally different video, and because that's its own thing.
There'll be a mention of some of the cameras we saw.
We'll mention it briefly, but VR is going to be its own thing. So different.
Tony and I are both sold on VR, so we'll talk about VR.
You guys, I think.
And they are.
We'll talk about it. We'll put another video. Later. Oh, cool. Can't wait. All right. Anyways, cameras. So one thing that we noticed, like in the recent years, manufacturers used to make their big announcement at NAB. Like it was, bam, this is the thing. The only one that seems to really do that nowadays is Blackmagic, and this year they didn't have a major announcement, which was okay. I mean, you know, frankly, a lot of people are just eager to see them fully deliver on all of the cameras that they had promised and the designs. So that's great. Let's just see refinement happen, which is one of the things that they announced. There was a lot of, they updated their menu system. Mike, you took a look at that.
Their update on their menu of their camera, it was just a lot more intuitive, a lot more snappy with their touchscreen. It was more like what you'd expect from a modern day camera using a touchscreen menu. And I felt like it added, like it was a whole nother camera to me. Like after using the Ursa before, like using the new menu system was just, it was night and day. And I loved it. It was great.
So, yeah, definitely nice to just see that. So there's updates to their existing system. You know, I think they're trying to hit delivery dates for the new 4.6K cameras. The minis, I think the first 4.6K. We still have 4K Ursa. I'm hoping to get the 4.6K upgrade on that in the near future. So we're waiting for that to happen. But they did have their video assist.
Yeah, the video assist was an interesting product, and the price point is great. I mean, you're talking like under $500 for a nice little monitor that also can record ProRes, and I mean it has everything that you'd want to really, you know, boost what you're getting out of your DSLR. So if you have an existing DSLR or a camera system that outputs to, you know, like a clean HDMI signal, I mean, this is a great little recorder. It's super small. I mean, but for me, I think it wasn't something that I would necessarily purchase just because it's not, I'm looking to get a new camera system, which I purchased the Sony A6300. It was nice in the respect that if I had just wanted to shoot, you know, longer format on an HDSLR and have my ProRes files, I mean, that'd be a perfect solution for me, especially at that price point. So
cool. So yeah, Blackmagic has some cool stuff. They had some of their software, their DaVinci Resolve.
Yes.
Didn't get a full upgrade. That was 12 to 12.5, which we'll mention in our post-production section. But yeah, nothing major from them, which it always seems to be like the big thing in NAB. So coming down from that high or low or whatever, let's go and move on.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
I didn't get to check it out as much, but we kind of talked about it before. Like, what would be the advantage of going with the video assist versus something like a Shogun or something with small HD?
That's a good question. Really what it boils down to is the video assist is much more cost effective. An Odyssey 7Q or a Shogun or those are over $1,000. Video assist is $500. Now the video assist is probably not going to have the same.
You can still record 10-bit on that, right?
Yeah, it was 10-bit. That was the other thing too. Is even you
need a 10-bit signal to take advantage of that.
You need a 10-bit signal. I mean, it's essentially converting whatever your feed is into 10-bit, but you're not really getting that data.
Right.
Off
So
your
if you're
camera.
sending only an 8-bit signal to it, it's not going to magically make it 10-bit.
Yeah, it's not gonna. Yeah, it doesn't work that.
The main
Even though it's
things-
black magic, it's not really
Right,
magic.
and like the Shogun, and especially the Odyssey 7Q, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Those both take camera signals, like so the FS500, which we have, outputs the 12-bit RAW. In 4K, it can do the 4K to HD, really high quality downsampling, really sharp image, gorgeous image quality in the 1080, 10-bit, beautiful. So that's a unique thing that recorder can do, taking the camera signal out of the 700. The video assist doesn't have that internal software
It's just
and hardware to do
HDMI,
that.
right?
It's well, it probably does.
Does it have SD?
SDI.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it did have SDI. I think one of the advantages to the video assist to me was that it shot straight to SD cards. I mean, for me, in my kit, I already have a bunch of SD cards. I mean, I can use that. And
So you don't have to use
I don't
SSD.
have to be. Yeah, I don't have to get the SSDs. That was one advantage to me as over.
The main thing is, if you have a camera that does output a higher quality, like some of the Blackmagic cameras do, and some other cameras do, and you want to get ProRes out of it, this is a great option for it. Another thing is if you're in a workflow where the client demands ProRes and they won't take AVC HD or whatever like that, you can use this to then output that signal and record in ProRes. Again, it's more of a workflow thing. You're not really getting a better quality, you're just working in a better wrapper that they might prefer. So those are the areas that you might use
Plus
it.
a monitor bonus. So you didn't
Right,
have
and it's a monitor. So yeah.
Okay,
That,
cool.
So that would be that. So let's talk more about monitors now. So Atomos had their Flame series of monitors, which were some really good upgrades to the Shogun and to the Ninja. They had HDR and high bright options. So I think the normal brightness of most of the Shoguns were like around 500 nit, and these were 1500 nit. And so you could HDR. You could basically have it in HDR mode or high bright mode. And in high bright mode, it's great for outdoors and bright sunlight, which you can see like in the background, for example, nice sunny day. It's hard to see a monitor. That's why they make shades, and you bury your head in them. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had a courtesy hung over the top of me so I can see my monitor better, or take some Duvetine or a sweater or something like that and kind of create a little hood. You know, shooting outdoors can be a pain in the butt. So having a high bright monitor is super handy, especially when you're just operating by yourself. And then if you switch over to the HDR mode, it's basically, it's a 10-bit monitor at that point. So what that means is you've got, most monitors nowadays are 8-bit. So even if you're shooting 10-bit, if you're shooting S-Log or something like that, it has to scrunch it into an 8-bit display. So that's why you see this really washed out image, because there's more information than the display can see. And then you add your LUT to it, which then kinds of fakes what it'll look like with a grade back into your 8-bit. What HDR is allowing you to do in 10-bit is saying, here's your full 10-bit spectrum, more color range and everything like that. It looks like it does in real life, but it's you're not adding a LUT to it. You're still seeing the right image. So it's really slick. You have to kind of see it to really understand it, but it's awesome. And it's the future of monitors, and it's nice that they're finally going that way, and it doesn't cost a fortune to have a 10-bit display. It's something that you can easily have on your onboard monitor. So
I'm excited.
Yeah.
My Rift is here. Yay!
Nice.
I'll be back.
Delivery. Delivery break.
So I guess we're gonna talk more about that in VR.
How we doing?
But Sean got his Rift.
Excited for this one.
Sweet.
Something good.
Yeah. It's a big day.
It's a happy day. We're gonna
Thank you
get
very
it.
much.
Maybe the UPS guy wants to be in our video.
Yeah.
We get deliveries here every day.
All right,
I
Sean's
have the
back.
Vive too, so
Yeah. We'll
make
talk
comparison.
about that in VR. Okay. Don't want to get off track.
yeah. Sorry.
Hey, I can't believe you started a video without an intro song.
We are burning 4K, guys. Come on.
Burning 4K footage. That's Jimmy, by the way.
Jimmy.
We
We love Jimmy.
I'm the old guy with the cigar.
Hello.
in real life too. Anyways,
All right, so Atomos, 10-bit, that's great. I have a Shogun. It makes me really consider heavily upgrading because there's so many new features in it. Plus, the build quality is a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
They have two battery inputs, so that you can hot swap. Much more durable design. Price point's great. Definitely consider that if you're looking.
So would you consider that more of like a what you see is what you get kind of thing then when you're working on 10-bit?
For the 10-bit?
Yeah.
It's more true to life, but you're still recording that full data range.
Yeah.
As long as it's supposed to be 10-bit, but we're always looking at an 8-bit display, so it's a weird thing. It's why the LUTs were created, is so that you can fake a grade on top of it.
Okay.
So yes, it's complicated, and if I'm not explaining it well enough, go to their website and they'll see more stuff, but it's cool. All right, so let's move on to, I have a Shogun, and then I have the Odyssey 7Q. Of course, they have the 7Q Plus. That is for people that have something like an A7S and want to record 4K via the 6G HDMI. Otherwise, the 7Q is very comparable for SDI stuff. The FS5, which we got to see last year, I'm shooting on that now. I like that camera. I got it. It's a good companion to my FS700. Is finally getting the 4K upgrade. I don't remember exactly what the price is, like $500-600, something like that. But it is getting that 4K upgrade path, just like the FS700 did. And I asked everybody at Sony booth, I said, is there going to be, I have 700, I'm using the 4K, is there going to be any major difference? The major difference is the FS5 has S-Log3. Otherwise, frame rates, everything is pretty much the same. The 7Q will support that with their 4K to HD conversion. It's just going to be awesome. So we use this FS5 on gimbals. We use it in motion control when we need a smaller camera rig. I really like it.
I just laugh because we got the smaller camera for the gimbals and you got your Canon Cinema Glass. And then that gives us the same problem because it's so front heavy, you have to push it back. And then we had to use extension arms anyways.
True.
It was just funny.
If we didn't have the FS5, then we only had the FS5.
Yeah, it'd be even worse, I guess. Yeah.
So.
But you should see some of the rigs I put up to make the FS700 work without the extension arms. We had it up to almost like 15 or 20 pounds once.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So we've done some crazy rigs. But anyways, FS5 to me was one of the more exciting things. Like now it's full 4K output. Like the things that camera can do. You've got your variable ND filter and the clear image zoom crop and 4K internal, and I mean there's a lot of stuff that camera can do. It's a pretty cool camera. It's so tiny. Even so, as far as NAB goes, we'll get to that. As far as NAB goes, I still think the FS5 is one of the killer cameras in the kit. Now, Sony did announce the A6300. There was no major updates to the A7 lineup, so there's no A7 Mark III or A7S3 or whatever like that. But there's the A6300, which just came out.
Yeah, right before NAB.
I had been recommending the A6000 to people. A6300 is now out. You used it on a wedding.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I really love the design of it. It's so small and compact. It has a lot of the features of the Pro cameras. It has S-Log3, has all the peaking and everything that you'd expect from the A7S2. The things it's missing from the A7S2 is, in-camera body stabilization. It'd be really nice, but it does work with stabilized lenses. I didn't have any problem with it using stabilized lenses. The autofocus on it is phenomenal. I fell in love with it because of the autofocus, because I'm a still shooter as well. And so I just was able to, and it has 11 frames per second, like crazy fast. I just fell in love with it.
That's for photos, by the way.
Yeah, for photos. Yeah, 11 frames.
Video is
video. I think that'd be a little weird. But so I got to handle it at NAB, and that's what kind of clinched the decision to purchase it. I had been previously shooting on Nikon D600, doing video and stills with that. So I have Nikon glass. I got a cheap Nikon adapter, but after shooting with stabilized lenses, I'm definitely going to be investing in some Sony or Zeiss glass for E-mount glasses.
Well, I've got FS700, I've got a FS5, I have a A7S, and I've been telling Mike that just get in the Sony lineup.
Sony.
First of all, you can rent and borrow my equipment, but also just like they finally really refined their stuff. Like we got a chance to see. I think you took a little video of that lens
Oh yeah, their lens
diamond that
lineup,
they had.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they're finally getting to a really good place. Not only like a lot of their zoom lenses have been limited to an f4. They're finally getting some f2.8s in there.
Their
so,
G Master series.
Yeah, it's really a nice lineup. So anything that people would be complaining like, oh, but they don't have this, they're really filling in all those gaps.
Yeah.
So
they got really good glass. I was able to stop by the Zeiss booth too and played with their bodice lenses, and they got some really cool stuff there. You know, it's a really good platform, and you know you can get adapters otherwise. I have my Nikon adapter, it was like $50. I mean, it's not, you know, autofocus, but the Metabones new one, you can, the autofocus. I had a Metabones the Mark IV one with you know, an L glass, and it was, the autofocus on it was great still. So
does that do 4K?
Yes, it does 4K internal.
Okay.
They had some overheating issues that, you know, rumored about that. I mean, there's some workarounds to that. I didn't run into it at all. I don't shoot longer clips though. You know, the maximum length that I'm shooting is, you know, 4 to 5 minute clips at most, and I didn't have any issues. Battery life was actually surprisingly good. I mean, you still limited it around an hour or so, but I mean, there's something that I thought was kind of cool is you can actually you can run the camera off a USB power. So I have like a little USB power brick that I had along. I didn't actually have to pull it out at all, but I could potentially just be running it off with a USB brick and not have to be utilizing battery power at all, which is
nice.
Pretty cool.
All right, so that's Sony. So you know, we talked about VR cameras. I don't want to get too much into that because we're gonna have an whole VR section.
Yeah.
But that was a big thing. So
yeah, there's some cool things that are.
So check that out.
It's starting to head in an awesome direction.
All right, let's talk about. I'm gonna talk about the Red Scarlet at this point because the Scarlet W. I've been interested in being a red shooter for a long time. You know, we have. I went from XHA1 to a 5D Mark II to an FS500, and then I've kind of been filling in the gaps with other Sony cameras. We're getting to a point where clients are interested in us having a red. So I've been on the fence about it for a while, and when they announced the Scarlet W, I felt that was the right time. I've put in a reserve for it, spent the $1,000, set that aside, and so I'm waiting for my ticket to come up. But the Scarlet W, if you look at the specs between that and like the Epic Dragon, they are very similar. And so Red has really done a good job of finally, you know, making the Scarlet a high-end camera to cover the needs of most productions. The only reason that they don't really have an Epic anymore. It's like now goes the Raven, which is more of a gimbal camera, more cropped sensor, and the Scarlet, which is your typical Super 35 mm, and then you've got the Weapon, and then the Weapon 8K. I don't think they really have an Epic. I guess the Weapon is now the Epic or something like that.
Yeah, they're the Raven. Yeah.
But so, anyways,
So confusing.
Yeah, they got a lot of birds, dragons,
Yeah.
mythical creatures.
So Scarlet W, I got a chance to hang out at the booth. We talked. I like drilled them, like, you know, as a new. I've used Reds on shoots before, but I've never owned one. So like, what are the things I should expect? You know, what's the IR pollution like? All that kind of stuff. I got a chance to really hang out there. So for me, that is my big major purchase that's coming up is a Scarlet, and so I don't know how many of you guys that applies to, but that's definitely. If you're in the market, you know, I think the Scarlet W is a really good and viable option. So, yeah, there was nothing mind-blowing from Red per se. It was just a good time. It already announced the Raven and the Scarlet last year, or late last year, so I had a chance to just touch them and see how much smaller it was than even so their DSMC 2 or squared or whatever the heck you want to call it bodies versus the previous ones. They're much lighter weight. Really nice. It's the refinement that I've expected from Red for a while that's pushed me over to the point of wanting to invest in one. GoPro. Let's talk about GoPro. There's no GoPro 5. Like, I've been waiting to get a 5. They've been hanging on that 4 for a while. You have a 4, right? Or
Yeah, I don't have the Plus. I have I have a 3. not the Plus, because it went 3 and then the Plus, 3 Plus, and then 4.
Yeah, they were coming one with like every single year, and so I'm like, oh, I'll just wait for the 5 and grab one of those because we use it occasionally.
Yeah.
But they haven't updated that, so nothing there. But they did have some interesting stuff. They had this these like they basically ripped like the lens and the sensor off of the camera, and then ran like a ribbon to other stuff, and they're putting in all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, obviously they had, I don't remember, a while back they had some kind of contract, I think, with the NFL or something. But anyways, they're getting into more of working with live broadcast with sports, and a couple of things that we saw with that is they had one, you'll see some B-roll of it, one with on the back of a motorcycle by being able to separate the lens from the body with the ribbon cable. It's just 2 lenses on the end on the back of the bike, and so then you have a 360 view that you can rotate around on the back of the bike. Other things, like with the NFL, they had an NFL hat there, and
that was cool.
for the referee, you have it clipped onto the bill, and then going into the hat, you have the whole system in the hat. They even had a SDI out on the back, so you could get live feed. Probably going to a wireless
like
pack.
built into the hat.
Yeah, the hat. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like just how small and compact that they were rigging it up. So there's like this new professional lineup of GoPro. I don't know what else to really call it, but they're trying to aim their stuff. I'd seen them like where I think a BMW or something like that had a mount in the front or rear of the camera, like so you can actually pop a GoPro in there, and that was like your backup camera.
Oh, really?
And so
I didn't see that one.
I don't know if they had it at NAB, but I saw a video of it.
Okay.
They've been like GoPro is trying to aim at I forget what they like Innovator or something like that system where there's integrations that they're trying to do with their system. Now we've got our pizza.
Now we got pizza.
I just say, GoPro keep innovating, and we got stock in you, so literally stock. So let's see those numbers rise.
Nice. Cut for a second. Or did you want to keep
Yeah.
going? We're just going to eat pizza.
Dude, you want to say hi to our audience?
Yes.
Pizza guy? Hi, guys.
That was a nice Papa John's pizza break. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Dad.
So,
Now you have a pizza.
before the pizza guy got here, we were talking about GoPro.
I think we're summing up.
I think we'll talk about more of them in the VR section as well. There's some stuff to mention there. Let's talk about Lytro. Lytro is light field cameras, and we've seen them in the past for they had that little kaleidoscope looking camera at one point, and then they came out with one that was more professional, still kind of reeked with bugs and quirkiness, but a little bit higher end system. Then they announced a VR camera, which is a spherical thing. Haven't heard much more about that. There's nothing about that at NAB that I saw. But then right before NAB, they announced this incredibly huge professional camera, like 6 feet long, Canon of a thing. There was a session that we didn't make it to that talked about how to use it in production. Like the whole rental of the thing is like, I don't know, costs tens of thousands of dollars a day. And it looked interesting because the whole thing about light field is you're capturing, think of like your aperture and stuff like that to be more metadata, kind of like if you're shooting raw and your white balance isn't locked in. Well, your aperture and even just your depth isn't fully locked in. You can like move around and stuff like that.
Yeah, you
Even
can.
your angle, I thought it was too. Yeah.
Slightly. You have like a certain range that you can do it.
One thing that was cool is watching a video after about possibilities is, which I think is really cool being in the post world, is depth keying. You can key by depth instead of, so you could have actors just in, with a good separation of depth. You don't worry about green screen, you could just be anywhere, and then you just pull them out matte by depth. Almost like a Z depth thing that when you render. So something similar to that. So that was cool.
Yeah, it's really cool looking. It'll be interesting to see how it incorporates into professional productions. I mean, I was using the analogy of, or the example, I should say, of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. How they purposely shot on film, and they even had, I think it was Panavision, make specific lenses that looked more vintage, had the warmth and feel like they did back in the 70s, yet they had the resolution that was necessary for the current level of home stock and high resolution cameras. So, I mean, DPs and directors are going to make creative decisions that are not only about what the camera can accomplish, but the look, really heavily the look that the camera can accomplish. Right now, Lytro is still new, of course, but it's a very synthetic look.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the organic level that a film camera would, or even other cameras, more mature cameras like ARRI and stuff like that have. So it'll be interesting to see how that technology matures later on. So anyways, it was like, holy cow. The reason we bring it up is just because it's like the technology is totally different. Like, we're used to a specific way of shooting, sensor and a lens and that kind of stuff. And Lytro just came out of nowhere and said, hey, it's like they skipped. They went from these like cheap little okay cameras that had a neat novelty that all of a sudden, bam, this mega $1 million, I don't know how much it cost, but a super high-end camera. And it's like, okay, they didn't really grow up to it. They just like jumped ship to a totally different market. So it'll be interesting to see how that.
Well, there is a music video that someone made using the original Lytro camera that was released.
Right, because the way Lytro works is not only capturing the depth and everything like that, but there's a certain range. So what they kind of did is like this parallax, almost matrix look to it, and they were able to do that.
We'll find it. We'll put a link that you can click on, check it out. It was really cool. I remember them behind the scenes talking about one shot where the girl had a knife, and she had the tip of the knife like right on the lens of the camera, and they were able to focus from that onto, and then of course, they did do a little bit of movement for some parallax. So it was like a scene frozen in time while they were able to kind of move the camera. It was a really cool idea. So.
Right, and the file sizes on those are pretty big because they're capturing a lot of data. So, what did they say? It was like a couple gig per second or per frame or something like that?
Crazy amounts of data being throughput on that camera because think of capturing all the light in a field of view. I mean, that's just
it's not just raw, but it's raw. It's so much.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It was like gigabytes per frame. Mm-hmm. It was insane. So, anyways, moving on.
You can bring your own server rack just to film with.
Yes.
Yeah. Canon 8K. I think we'll probably end on that one. That you popped into that booth and checked it out.
This was interesting to me. Like, they had a whole 8K experience that you could go in, and what they had done is they had set up 4 quadrant, like basically 4 4K projectors to project this, but then they also had peripheral projectors kind of with the blurred out scene. So like the whole experience is all these dolly ins and dolly out, so it feels like you're moving through the scene. And the clarity and the depth out of this was just, it made you feel like you were moving, really. Like there was a couple moments where you kind of feel almost uneasy how you're moving through the scene. But it's visually, like, it was spectacular. I mean, you had to be there to experience it. I mean, obviously, I could film it with my camera, but it's not gonna. I mean, you have to experience it to see it. And the thing about it was that the prototype was hooked up to 4 Odysseys to basically quadrant out. So it was recorded in the same way it was kind of projected, like 4 quadrants of 4K.
Which is how that was in a modified C500, which is how they actually shot 4K, like what Canon earlier on, like I think it was a modified C300 or something like that. Yeah. Maybe it was a C500. But they basically had 4 recorders set up to do that as well, to 1080. So yeah, it's
just the jump in technology going from 4K and doubling it to 8K.
Quadrupling.
It was sorry. I'm not good at math.
They double the width and they quadruple.
To me, I was like, it was an interesting idea for them to be able to take like still frames, because they had this like $1,000 amazing printer out there too that they were showcasing, and they would be printing stills from this experience, like the 8K experience. And the granularness of the prints, they had magnifying glasses out there, for Christ's sakes. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you'd go up and look at it, you didn't see, any of the pixels or the dots or anything kind of stuff. It just looked like perfect imagery. So
it was impressive. It was impressive. I just feel like it's so overkill at this point. You know,
Its applications are so
applications.
few.
Yeah, the applications.
But it's still cool to.
It's cool that we're
technology
there, that we
adapt it.
can do that. But as far as like seeing it out of practicality, consumer.
But you know, so there, you know, Canon is like AK. Red has had AK for a little while now.
Yeah.
They've been advertising it with their the weapon 8K, which so there's now cameras that are approaching like VistaVision or not IMAX level quality. So like Ari has their 65 millimeter version. The 8K I think is comparable to that. You know, so that there's these larger sensors. So we're moving into that almost medium format level of imagery. Or maybe not medium, maybe full frame. I don't know where that falls in the line, but somewhere in that realm where we're getting that IMAX level that a lot of DPs like, but the IMAX itself is incredibly cumbersome. So like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is being shot on the 8K red weapon, so it's going to have probably, you know, if you watch it, I'm guessing the aesthetics can be a little unique in that it's going to have that look that we would expect from that type of a camera. So 8K is here. You know, I think it's the way that 4K was back in the day when people were like, I don't need 4K, and then we eventually just started moving towards it. You know, most of our cameras, even my little FS5, even your A6300, all have 4K capabilities. We don't use it regularly. We're shooting this in 4K so that Mike can post crop and move it around. So it's, you know, there's functional benefits to it, but actual exhibition isn't as common. Where I'm seeing the potential for larger formats is in VR, which we'll talk about very soon.
One side note is that I just realized that 8K would make a great emoticon for Dr. Zoidberg.
Side note.
Just side note. I was thinking about 8K and I was like, hey, that's like looks like Dr. Zoidberg, you know, for emoticons. So anyways, so any emoticon people out there you go. Let's get that into the code.
Anyways,
standard.
Thanks for watching. Big thanks to Blackmagic Design for being our sponsor, and be sure to check out the rest of our NAB coverage on the rest of our videos.
Who says we're not drinking already? We act like it anyways.